So we finally have some good news, and I want to tell you all about it. Because for more than 3 years, the American people have been facing some very uncertain times. We didn't know which stores would even be open. We didn't know where we could go and get food. We didn't know if our jobs were still going to be there in the next week. And everybody questioned their financial stability during this time. Well, over the past 15 months, we have experienced even more pain. However, it was pain to our wallets. But why and how? Well, I'm going to explain all that in just a moment. All I ask is if you felt any financial pain over the past 15 months, go ahead and hit that like button. Also, consider subscribing so you never miss an update. But let's talk about why this is finally becoming good news. According to recent reports, the Fed is expected to pause rate hikes this next week. This is actually really good news because this will be the first time in 15 months that the Fed has not raised rates. But what makes this good news? Well, here's what I can tell you. The Federal Reserve raising rates, their federal funds rate, makes it very difficult to borrow. It makes it difficult to borrow for people trying to buy a car. It makes it very difficult for people that are trying to buy a house. Those are two major purchases that people normally do. Here's the problem. The federal funds rate went from 0%. It's now sitting at 5%. This is a major problem because this means people cannot buy. If they do not have the cash on hand, they, in most cases, because of the increased payment, they will not be able to afford a car or a house. Again, it's a major problem. Now, here's something else you need to know, and this is for most people. The majority of Americans have a credit card. And when the federal funds rate stays the same, this means that your credit card rates shouldn't go up either. And for millions of consumers that are currently holding pretty much record credit card debt, this is a very good thing. Because when you spend on a credit card and then your rate goes up, guess what? Your payment goes up. You are now you're paying off less of your actual balance, right? You're paying more in interest. And again, it hurts you because then you have less purchasing power. Another reason why the Fed actually pausing interest rates is considered a very good thing is because it's just showing that the Federal Reserve is seeing signs of our economy cooling off. It doesn't mean we are going to, guaranteed go into a recession or a depression. It just means that inflation is going to continue to slow down. Not that we're going to see deflation, but inflation will simply slow down, which means we'll see disinflation. Now, as this happens, everything should stop increasing in price so quickly. For instance, eggs, meat, milk, bread, right? All these things have just surged in price. So this is considered a really good thing. Now, one of the main reasons why the Fed pausing rates is also considered a very good thing is because this could start turning everything around. And think about it. One of the biggest issues with the Fed raising rates is that it hurts spending. Hurts spending in our personal lives. It also hurts businesses as well because now they do not want to borrow money because they're not getting that cheap money like they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, even 4 years ago. Now they're having to really spend. And so a business is going to sit back and think, should I borrow this money? Or should I just put less investment back into the business and wait for things to get back on track? Well, that's what most people do. The other thing is jobs. You start to lose more jobs as rates increase. Why? Because for businesses, again, people are not spending as much money inside that business. And if they're not spending money inside that business, chances are that business does not need as many employees. But the good news with the Fed pausing rates is as jobs start to come back, so will the economy. So that's considered really good news there. Now, I do want to get to some bad news in just a second, and I will, but I first just want to say a couple things. First off, when the Federal Reserve comes out and raises rates or pauses rates or even lowers rates, you see mainstream media just completely blow up. Okay, the Fed just raised 25 basis points. Everybody's freaking out. That's not necessarily true. The mainstream media is going to freak out. They're going to just over-exaggerate these numbers. But at the end, the truth is that a lot of times we know this is coming beforehand. For instance, the Fed is expecting to pause rates this coming week. Well, we've known this for about a month. And so the signs, what you've been seeing, the stock market, all these things are playing off of the fact that that is what they're expecting. The Fed is going to pause rates. So just because the Fed comes out and pauses rates later on this week does not mean it should change much to the economy. Okay? Not instantly. In the future, yes. Today, probably not. But let's get some of the bad news really quick. So, the Fed is seeing signs of the economy cooling off nicely. Right? That's good. Okay, that the economy is going to cool off. We're not just seeing massive job growth. We're not seeing huge wage increases. We're not seeing a wage price spiral. That's all good news. However, there is no guarantee that this actually happens. So even though the Fed is seeing that there's signs that the economy is cooling off, the problem with this is that, again, everybody's looking at the Fed. Oh, the Fed is pausing rates. So those people that were considering going to buy a house or a car, guess what? They're probably going to head to the dealership. They're probably going to head to their lender to figure out, can they afford the car or the home. And if they can't yet, and the Fed is considering pausing rates, guess what? What would the next step be? Yeah, to lower rates. However, according to reports, the Fed is not expecting to lower rates probably until 2024. So what we are hearing now is, okay, if you're ready to buy a house, great, just be patient. Because again, the homes are still too expensive. As the Fed pauses rates, what their plan is to see how the economy plays out. What happens? Do we see inflation continue to go down? If we do, great. If it actually goes back up, and this is part of the problem, that could actually make the stock market sell off. The Fed would be considered wrong, and so that would be more upward pressure on inflation for 2 to 3 months. And that's, again, what we would see. We would see inflation go up. Here's the other thing, and this is why some are saying that this is not the time to pause rate hikes, is because what's happening right now is that there are multiple ports throughout the United States that are pretty much at a standstill, okay? Where people aren't working. The cargo is sitting on ships. Guess what happens when we do not have enough material or enough goods? The prices for the goods and materials that we do have goes up, which would mean additional inflation. Now, I don't think it's going to go up as much, but it depends on how long these ports are actually holding out. And if this goes on for weeks or months, this could drastically hurt our economy, hurt the American people, and this would make it look like the Fed was wrong, which would mean later on they would have to go back, start raising rates again. That right there is going to send the stock market in a frenzy. So, this is good news that the Fed is planning on pausing their rate hikes, but just keep in mind, just because this is good news now does not mean this will be good news for the next 6 to 12 months. Things could change and flip almost instantly. So, just wanted to fill you in on what's going on because, again, this is something that we are expecting to see this week. But as we get more reports, I promise I'll be here every step of the way. I will fill you in on all the latest news and updates. All you got to do, 2 things. Hit that like button on this video. Also, click that subscribe button so you never miss an update. And I will see you guys on the next one.